how we make a continuous binding with mitered corners. We cut the strips of fabric 2¼ inches wide on the straight grain of the fabric and generally crosswise from selvage to selvage. You will need to sew the strips together so that you have one long length to attach to the outer edge of your quilt. The strips are placed perpendicular to each other like they're shown here, and notice that the ends are offset, so when you stitch diagonally you will start here in this little corner and go all the way across and end here. Now there's a pencil line on the back side of this fabric, but it's not necessary that you mark these. You'll just want to stitch right across. So let me go ahead and stitch those. After stitching, you want to trim to remove the excess and leave just 1/4 inch beyond the stitching line, like this. The seam will be pressed open to eliminate bulk. So take it over to the pressing board and press it open, and then the full length of the binding strip will be pressed in half with the right side facing out. So we'll go ahead and press that. To prepare your quilt for the binding, stitch about 1/8 inch from the edge of your quilt top all the way around through all thicknesses, the backing, the batting, and the quilt top. Once you have stitched, take your ruler, and a large square one is really helpful because then you can make sure that your corners are square. Use your rotary cutter to remove the excess batting and backing, and also trim it even. So you'll want to straighten this all the way around on all 4 edges. Starting and stopping a binding strip can be a little bit tricky, but here's an easy way to do it. Place the raw edges of your binding strip so they're even with that clean cut edge of your quilt. You want the quilt top on the top so it's facing up, and we've flipped this little sample over so that you have better contrast in the video. Leave about 5 or 6 inches unsewn, and then start your stitches, and you want to end when you get to within 1/4 inch of the corner. So stitch and stop 1/4 inch, back stitch, and take this out of the sewing machine. And then if you will lay this piece on a flat surface and turn the binding strip so that you will have a nice 45-degree angle here in the corner, just like this. And what you're looking for is that the raw edge, the right-hand raw edge of your quilt top is even with your binding strip. Now very carefully fold the binding strip so that it goes toward you, right? And there are a few things that you're looking for here. One of them is that this folded edge on the top is even with the top edge of the quilt. You have raw edges even here, and these 2 folded edges are stacked evenly over each other. Then back to the sewing machine, and starting right at the top, again with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're going to stitch right from the edge all the way down, again stopping 1/4 inch before you reach the next corner. So I'll go ahead and stitch that now. Go. Here's the quilt top. The binding has been stitched all the way around, all corners. You can see that there's the starting point that was left loose, and at the very end you want to stop so that you have a tail and an extension. You need to have a space, at least 10 or 12 inches that you can attach and join the ends together. And here's how you do this. So let's lay the starting point out flat, overlap the ending, and from your tail end cut a little piece off. And what we're looking for here is the width of your fabric. Remember, you cut this at 2¼ inches wide. So if you will lay this right below, we want the overlap to equal the width of your fabric. So let me just bring this just a little bit up so that you can see where it is. So let me lay it side by side, okay? So here we have it. The overlap is equal to the cut width of your strips, 2 1/4 inches. So now cut anything that extends beyond that, right? So there we have it. See? Extension equal to this width. Let's pull this aside. Now remember how you joined your strips together originally and you placed perpendicular. Open this up. There's one end. Here's the other end. And you have to scrunch this up just a little bit so that you can make this happen. Right? And we're going to stitch diagonally across this. And then when it opens, you'll have it together. Let me go ahead and stitch that. The ends have been stitched together diagonally all the way across. Take your scissors and cut the extension, leaving just 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now what's so nice about this technique is that there's no bulk. Press this seam open just like you did earlier, and then press in half, and there you go. It fits together just perfectly. You can then stitch, finish your stitching line from point to point. Let me go ahead and do that.